Hi lovelies, it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. So if you didn't already know, I wrote a book. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like I've mentioned that a lot this month and last month on this channel. So one thing that I have been asked a lot about is how I actually wrote a book. And I thought I would make a video on how to complete large projects, including writing a book, in 7 easy steps. So this is how to complete really big assignments or projects without feeling stressed and without burning out, and managing to do it in honestly a pretty short amount of time, because I wrote this book, I started working on it last year, my new book, Work-Life Balance Survival Guide, but I really did write it in a very short amount of time if I think about it. And there were probably 7 things that I did that made the process a lot easier and streamlined the whole experience. So I wanted to share that with you. If you have major projects, assignments, maybe you're wanting to write your own book, or there's something else that you've got in the pipeline that you're working on, then this video is sure to help you because it's really helped me. So let's get straight into it. And actually, before we do, just a reminder, a link to all of my resources will be down below, including my new book, Work-Life Balance Survival Guide, and my website, my blog, my first book, and also my other social media. You can go follow me there for more inspo and daily tips and advice. All right, let's get straight into it. Okay, so I feel like this is probably going to be a little bit of a known tip to begin with, but it's to break everything down into smaller parts. So when I first signed on to write my second book, the anxiety. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to write an entire book? They also wanted it to be about 30% longer than my first book, The High School Survival Guide, and it really stressed me out. So the first thing I did was I broke it all down into lots of smaller tasks. And compartmentalizing it in that way was so important for me because it reduced stress and overwhelm, and it also created this action plan for me. So if I think about breaking down a project like a book, I had to work on my preface, introduction, there was researching for chapters 1 through to 14, there was proofreading, there was the cover design, there was referencing, there was reading through and proofreading the formatted version. There were so many parts to that project, so breaking it down was essential. It was a vital part to the whole process. The next step is to always schedule your tasks to respect their importance and also reflect their level of importance. So if something's important to you, it has to be written down, it has to go into your schedule. Otherwise, it's left to compete for your attention with other potentially competing priorities or things that pop up throughout the day. I also encourage you to start with this task. This is step 3. I would always start with working on my book before I checked social media, before going through emails or any other task I had to do for work, because I knew that big projects, big goals, these are the things that are the most mentally taxing. And so you want to use up the best amount of your mental energy first, because otherwise if you leave it till say the end of the day, your mental energy tank is less full, and so it's going to be a lot harder to really give it your all. So you want to approach these important tasks when you're feeling your most alert, your most focused, your most energized. Also, one thing that I found is that my level of energy and focus for a really big task like writing a book, I could probably sustain that for up to 4 hours a day. So when I use the time blocking method and I schedule 4 hours to work on my book first thing in the morning, because I'm also a morning person, that I would be able to do some really great work. But after 4 hours, and that's including breaks in between, my focus would really start to drop. So I find that deep work or mentally taxing tasks, we're able to work on them for about 4 hours a day maximum. But you might find that it might be a little bit less for you if you haven't really applied yourself for that length of time for a little while. It's sort of like something that you need to build up to. Now, I also encourage you to keep a monthly and yearly designated calendar or planner. So the thing I have in my hand over here, this is basically how I scheduled writing my book. So I actually pulled out my months. So I started in September of last year, and you can see that I would write down when I'm gonna work on certain tasks. So I have a yearly calendar. I also have my yearly planner. So I like to every month write down the tasks I plan to work on. I have my diary, I have my to-do list, I have honestly a million planners. Someone please come and declutter my stationery cupboard and drawers. But I did find it really helpful to use this. So again, writing it down and having it all scheduled is really helpful. It just helps to hold you accountable. One thing I learned though when working on my new book, Work-Life Balance Survival Guide, was that when I would schedule what I wanted to achieve in that amount of time, because we often overestimate how much we can actually get done, it would be really stressful for me and I would almost be like working against the clock. So I learned to change up my approach and I would schedule my time and not the task. But I wouldn't set a finite goal of what I want to achieve by the end of that session, just so that I'm not feeling stressed unnecessarily. So say to yourself, over the next hour, I plan to work on X, rather than I plan to finish X by the end of this hour. It's just a really helpful way to think of things. It's almost just like reframing, and it's a little trick that really helped me to stress a lot less. Another thing I did was I made a support list. So if you have a really big project that you're working on, chances are every now and then you're gonna need a little bit of a pep talk, a bit of a motivation boost. You might come up against some different obstacles or barriers. You might get a little bit lost or confused and need some added clarification or direction. So I wrote down a little support list and I had my editors, my life coach, a couple of my friends that I knew that I could always go to for some advice if I ever got stuck. And I found this really helpful just to feel more supported, because when you have a really big project that you're trying to tackle, you don't want to feel like you're trying to do it all on your own. One other thing I learned I had to do was to be flexible. And the planner in me initially resisted this, but it's really important to understand that life happens. Sometimes you'll end up ahead of task and other times you might be a little bit behind your schedule, and that's okay because it's just part of the process. So I would just write everything down in pencil and then you can erase it, you can adjust it, you can edit, reschedule, and it just makes it a more flexible, fluid process. So comment below if you're working on a big project. Are you writing a book? Are you working on a thesis? Are you working on anything else? I would love to know. And if you found this video helpful, give it a big thumbs up and like, and make sure to subscribe. And again, if you wanna get a copy of my new book, Work-Life Balance Survival Guide, which was the inspiration behind this video, then I'll leave a link down below with all of my other resources. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon with another video. Bye.